All right, so you often see this when you're watching someone hang out in VR. And what I'm always thinking, I'm usually like standing at my desk doing this, and I look like a dork. But mostly I'm thinking like, I wish you could be here.
Well, I wish you would pay more attention and be here with me at the presentation.
Yeah. But, so it's interesting because like I used to work and she works on social VR. But it's interesting because, VR, there's nothing about it that's like inherently social. But it's fascinating because for a lot of moments in life, there's all these kinds of moments where you just had to be there to get it. And so Facebook's, you might be wondering why Facebook would work on something like VR, this like kind of antisocial looking experience. And so Facebook's mission is to bring the world closer together and build community. And so the reason we wanted to work on VR and why Facebook has invested so much into the platform, into making VR social, is because it can solve a problem that Facebook's never been able to tackle for connecting people, which is, I wish I could be with you. How do you bring to get people together when they're apart? Often we just can't be together for a lot of life's moments that really take that presence and being with people in order to understand and connect in those moments. And like I said, so these are two of our team members, and this is often like what our workdays looked like. And the truth is, like, the headset and this experience, like, you're each experiencing your own world. And so, there's nothing about that that's inherently social, being with someone right there. But we knew that there was like this exciting space in this like medium where we could make something inherently social. And the thing is, like, that experience was showing, like, we don't pick our friends based on the devices they have. A lot of people don't have VR headsets. A lot of people have phones now, but that didn't used to be the case either. And we don't choose our friends based on the devices that they have. And so when you're at a place like Facebook and your mission is connecting people in the world, you have to think about how to answer these problems, bringing people together beyond devices. So the thing I want to stick out in your head is when you're designing for VR, it's frankly about designing for people and not those devices. When people see a headset, when they see a phone, when they see a computer, when they see each other, like, all they want to do is connect with their friends. They just want to talk to each other. It's frankly not about this goofy thing. It's about thinking about the experiences and how they relate to people and solving problems for humans. So, like our little introduction, I'm Stephanie. I am currently designing self-driving cars at Cruise Automation, owned by General Motors. But before that, I was working on social VR at Facebook. Originally, I studied people and places at Duke University. And I like to say that I got to go work on people and places some more in both of my current jobs in VR and all that. So.
And I'm Katya Kostyukova. I'm a VR product designer at Facebook. I've been working on Facebook Spaces all the way from a little demo that we showed at OC3 to an actual product that we launched at F8 in April of this year. And I also work on Spatial Audio and Spatial Workstation, which is a software suite for professional sound designers to spatialize the sound in 360 space.
And so this is just a little sampling of Facebook's VR team. All the designers, there's some researchers in there. It's like a broad group of people. And the reason you see us standing in front of this wall is because really a lot of what our job is Andy introduced us and said, we're from the future. And I wish it were that glamorous, but mostly like we just felt like we were standing in this world and seeing all this potential, like this space where we could build so much to bring people together, and yet other people couldn't be there too. A lot of people can't have headsets. And so a lot of our thinking around this medium has been not only how to design for people, but also specifically for VR, how do we bring the world in?
So to bring the world in, we had to create the place where you can meet with your friends. So we started with a demo of Facebook Spaces, which is the first social VR app from Facebook, where you can meet your people in VR, in person. You can watch a movie, you can draw in 3D, you can call people on Messenger. So here is a quick launch video that we showed at F8 of last year.
Hey sis.
Hey Jack, are you all excited for our trip?
Yeah, and look what I found.
This is so cool. Is this the same spot we're going to?
I hope so. And look, I think that's where we're taking the boat tour.
Oh, I love it. Look, I'm gonna go chat with Melissa, but you're setting up the party room, right?
Yeah, I got it.
Great, see you later, Jack.
All right, see you later.
Bye. Hey girl, guess what?
What?
I got the apartment.
Wow, nice. Look at your balcony.
I know, it's amazing. No roommates. I have it all planned out. The lucky blue couch.
Yes.
This table with this floor.
Perfect. Jack keeps calling me. Can we talk later?
Sure.
Bye.
Surprise!
Happy birthday!
Thanks, you guys.
Happy
No, stop, don't let the song.
Okay, hold this balloon. You know we gotta do it. Birthday selfie!
Oh my god.
And don't forget your birthday hat.
That's a good one. Hey! Look at my birthday hat.
So cute.
Okay. So one of the the features that really resonated with people is actually a messenger call from VR into the world. And that's kind of the feature that we didn't even know what is going to make it into the actual product.
We literally like shoved it in like last minute. We were just like, we should do this. It seems kind of cool, but we didn't know why.
And you can see here's my avatar giving a call to my friend Sino, who is another designer on our team. And if you look actually into Facebook, the hero of the experience is always friends. And we found the same to be in the social VR. The hero are always your friends. And we saw people connecting to each other with Facebook Spaces. So originally, we had phones, and we could connect with people that we care about through phone call. Then we got Skype, and we were able to see them. But the moment they were able to use Facebook Spaces, they would spend hours talking to their friends and people they care about, because it added the presence. I know you hear this word a lot, but it's really being able to see the person, their gestures, their emotions, their body language is really what resonated with people, and they felt like they're actually spending time with the people they care about. So to bring the world into VR, we started with understanding what is actually the people problem we're trying to solve. And it's really, I wish my friends were here. I mean, the reality is the majority of our friends currently don't have a VR headset. So how can we bring your friends and your whole world into VR? So we made a hypothesis that people will spend multiple times more in VR if they're with their friends. So again, to bring your friends in, we had to design certain principles. And one of them is promoting agency. If your friends are with you, but they can't be active participants in what you're doing, you don't really feel the presence of being with them. It's embracing asymmetry, which means that I'm in VR, I can still connect with you if you don't have a VR headset. You might be on your phone, on your tablet, on your PC, but we still can connect. It's creating a safe place for both of us to hang out. And also, it feels like Facebook, because this is where currently my social network is, where all my friends are. It's something familiar to me. So how can we bring this whole world into VR? So Messenger can get you only so far. It's a one-on-one connections, which is very special. But we also designed Live, which can bring the whole world in.
So this is a little preview of Facebook Live, as it is, you know it on Facebook.
Am I live?
What up, Peach?
I have to hold it.
Hey, we are live from Phuket Walking Street.
It's my mom's birthday today, and we're going to surprise her.
I don't know if you're out there. If you're watching, how are you doing?
Hi. I love you too. Doing some backside airs right now, warming up.
It's a really nice day out here.
Say, please adopt me.
Run, Adrian!
Bertowski, let's go. There goes Sean.
Jump, Berkeley! Jump for the people!
Yes!
You guys can say goodbye to the chin strap penguins right here. Yeah, thank you for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
And so the thing I notice every time I watch that video is just how many people you see. Like when you go live on Facebook or you watch Facebook Live, it was this phenomenon that, you know, you could just see people in the moment. You could pull out your phone and you could see anyone on the planet. And the thing about messenger calling in VR, it was so special because you could actually bring a little bit of piece of your world in. But if you think about it, whenever, like, I don't really answer phone calls that often. So one problem we saw was that when people were calling their friends from Messenger, a lot of their friends wouldn't pick up or they wouldn't know who to call. And when they did, of course, it was this magic experience, like, you're in VR, this is amazing. But we realized that we needed to build a more open channel for people to get a little dose of VR. And, you know, at Facebook, we've been lucky that, like, a lot of the social problems have been solved to some extent, and we had Facebook Live just sitting there as this opportunity for us to say, how do we connect people in VR to the whole world? But the thing is, Facebook Live has been designed for a particular purpose. I think everyone in the world can pull out their phone and go live, but a lot of Facebook Live has been marketed and treated as a broadcast experience. And that wasn't quite what we were going for. We didn't just want to shove the existing Facebook Live product as it was, like countdown, 3, 2, 1, all this stuff into VR, because we weren't just trying to shove a product in, we were really trying to create a unique new experience. And so when we decided, and so Katya and I actually pitched to do going live from VR as like this solution to bring everyone in, but when we pitched it, we said, the way we want to design it is not exactly like Facebook Live. People on the other end might see Facebook Live, but what we were really trying to create was a hangout experience. And so for us, we had to overcome some of the barriers that Facebook Live had in order to make it feel like Hangouts, not Broadway. So that led us down this line of questioning, which is like, how do you make something that people know, but make it feel like native to VR? And so we went through this exercise of like, how do we make this feel like a hangout experience? And we drew from those principles that Katya mentioned earlier. And we really landed on this concept that, like, in order to make live feel like something different within VR without totally re-architecting Facebook Live, because that's impossible, we had to create a really unique experience. And what that meant to us was this principle of embracing asymmetry and really trying to find a way to make people who were watching the broadcast feel like they could be a part of it somehow, and put people on each other's level a little bit. Because, so even right here, when I'm talking to you all, I'm actually pretty introverted, and I would rather like speak to you each individually on this subject. It feels like there's kind of this wall between us, like none of you are gonna come up and start talking to me. Maybe you will, but I wouldn't be that confident. And so the thing is, going live in VR is kind of the same way. Like, you're kind of just like talking at a screen, and you have a little playback that shows you what you're doing. But the thing is, you ultimately feel like you're broadcasting and like you're talking to an audience like I am right now. And so we wanted to like mitigate that. We wanted to change that dynamic. And so when we decided we're gonna launch this, we needed to build an MVP, so we couldn't do anything crazy. But the idea was we need to build at least one feature that gives viewers some sort of agency into the experience. And for us, that meant give people some way, who are watching on their phones and on their computers, some way of impacting the space.
So to bring the world in, we brought the different teams at Facebook to design that experience with us, and that was really exciting. They didn't know how to design for VR, but we went all together in spaces. We started sketching and kind of trying to figure out all together what is live in Facebook spaces.
Yeah, can I just say, how cool is that? That like we could go into our own product and like design. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah. So they brought all the unique perspectives into our process, into all of our ideas. So even though we couldn't physically bring you into VR, we designed this feature to make people active participants in the VR experience. And that was, as you are watching the live broadcast from Facebook Spaces, you can comment, and the host in the VR experience can actually grab that comment, turn around, show it to you, so you really feel like you can affect the VR world.
And so, just pausing on that for a second, it's so simple. Like, for us, this was like the simplest thing that we could build, and you should see, we had this whiteboard of absolutely crazy ideas that, you know, we all want to do. But for us, like, as soon as people started doing this, like, someone grabbing, it's kind of like that experience of, you know, you're listening to the radio host and you call in and they pick up and you get to hear your voice. It's like, for us, that was the first step in order to make people feel a little bit more participatory. One of the fun things, too, that I'll point out is, so I was the one who pitched really hard for this feature, and when I was designing it, I had a lot of people doing what designers do and thoughtfully questioning all these constraints. They said, how many comments can I grab? Can only some people have comments grabbed and not others? And one thing we learned designing Facebook Spaces is, like, it looks like the goofiest thing. Like, we don't point to this and say, like, this is my visual design, I'm really proud of this. It's more like people loved it because it was so goofy and fun. And so one thing we embraced is, like, kind of the silliness and delight of this. Like, so when you grab comments, you can actually spawn as many as you want. And so people were building forts out of their friends' comments. They were whacking each other with comments and things like that. And so but on the viewer end, it was so exciting to see people just like, it's like, that's my comment that you're hitting your friend with. And so it created this new conversation. And also it forced us to think about things like, what if a comment wasn't just this like static, stale object? And what if UI could actually be something social itself?
Here is a quick video.
We have a lot of those.
Hi, what can I do for you today?
Hi, Professor Ochoa. I could really use some help with this week's assignment. I can't get my compiler to work.
Let's take a look and see what you've been working on this week.
This is the one I've been working on.
Do you remember this slide from our class? So this will be directly applied to this section right here where you guys did the sequencing.
That's awesome. I think I get it now. It makes a lot more sense.
Great, it looks like we have a comment from Wayne. Does anyone have any questions about this particular assignment?
So we launched this in April of this year, but literally the day after we launched, we started seeing some broadcasts, people going live, whether that's friends to friends or public shows. That was really exciting, and they started using it in a very creative ways.
Yeah, so that was the funnest thing for us, I think, was not just to see people using it with their friends, but like, yeah, we had entire producers from like all these big companies start their own, like a live show in VR, like what a concept. And our hypothesis was right. Like people were spending multiple times more in VR. And it kind of just came back to this thing for us, which is like the hero experience is always your friends. The interesting thing too was, I just remember, so looking at this screen here, you have Facebook Live, the VR in your feed, and then you have it in the headset. And the screenshot to the left always strikes me, like it strikes me every single time I see VR live in my newsfeed, because to me, we didn't just build this channel for bringing the world into VR, but we also built a way for VR to get out. So like when you scroll through newsfeed, I just remember scrolling past one of my coworkers went live in public for the first time, and I saw like some of my friends commenting on it, and I was like commenting and posting goofy things, and then I realized like, oh wow, like this is probably the first time a lot of these people have ever really seen VR, and it's just kind of here like on newsfeed. So we won't say that like 2 billion people in the world are now going live from VR and whatever, but we really felt like we had built a little channel here. We had started something which said like VR can get out and you can come in. And just to reiterate the thought there, which is like, we're not designing for these devices. Like we talk so much about VR. This whole series is called the UX of VR, but actually like what that means is it's just thinking about people differently and how to bring people together differently. And this like two-way connection, like breaking that, any of the barriers that keep us apart, bringing a little VR to newsfeed and bringing you a little bit into VR, like throwing your comments in there and things like that, like the experiences that excited us most were what people were doing with that. And for us, that was just like, we made it a little bit easier for people to experience somewhere else with your friends. So this is us on the other side again. But we felt like we had made a little chip. Again, we're not gonna brag about like bringing 2 billion people into VR because we didn't do that. And everyone's still trying to figure out how to do that. But at least like to us, the success was like making a little way in and making it just a little bit easier to bring the whole world into VR. And ultimately solve this problem of like, how do you be together when you're apart?
And we're still learning with all of you. So we try to publish our learnings, write about it, because we're really trying to be a culture of learning. We don't have necessarily business metrics, certain success goals. Our primary goal right now as a team is learn how we can bring the world into VR. How can we make a social experience where you actually want to hang out with your friends?
And part of that is, when we say bring the world into VR, we don't just mean like your friends on a social network or like the experiences that we can design. Throughout that experience, like one of my favorite parts was that day or the few days when we sat with the live team who had never touched VR. And here they were, like solving all the problems that we thought we were so expert in solving because they just knew how to design really well for people. And if there's like anything that I can say to people out here who are maybe trying to get into VR or already doing it, it's like, ultimately, like you just need to be able to solve people problems. And to us, like bringing the world into VR means like getting more people like all of you into VR as well and designing it and working on it too. So hopefully these resources can provide a little help into that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hold on, I'm gonna mic you because.
Hi, I'm curious, when it comes to empowerment, can the people in Messenger control kind of their location or their window into this space, or are they at the mercy of the people in VR?
I think currently, as we just said, that's kind of the feature that got in like last moment and became like a really big success. So we're still seeing how people are using it, and we're going to give more and more power for people on the other side being able to actually be active participants, as you said, not to be at the mercy, but actually being able to participate fully.
Yeah, so that's the hard part is like, we actually started out that feature and we were like, oh my God, what if like you called in and you had an avatar and like whatever, but we had to dial all these things back and because people like what they know. So when you get a little too crazy and step a little too far out of people's comfort zones, it's actually hard. So it's, yes, there were technical limitations to this, but on the design side, like actually, so how you go live on VR, we had this big debate on the, how do you go live? And we actually we tried all these crazy future-y models, like what if it's a portal or like all this stuff. We landed on a selfie cam because that's what people knew and that's what they knew the rules around. Like I know that when I pull out my phone and I go live and I hand it to my friend, I know they're live on my device and things like that. So honestly, like we straddle this place of like wanting to design really unique and futuristic concepts, but we also have to keep things like relatable. And so the Messenger calling as a video chat window was not just like a technical limitation, but also like you can't just like break it all, unfortunately.
But is there a way that you are suggesting that there's more to do than just have a selfie cam? Because I think a lot of people who are just getting into VR this way might look at it and think, oh, it's an extension of what I already know. But how are you sort of putting the suggestion there that there's more to it?
I think it's little things like the comment experience is like, okay, designing at Facebook, you can't, like I said, you just can't break everything. Designing for all these types of people, you can't shove people into the future. And so you have to start with like a little nudge in the direction. And to me, like seeing how many people grab comments in the live broadcast, that's something that people have never done before. It's something totally unique. And I think just even when you do the Messenger call for the first time, trust me, it's like unbelievable. It's like, holy crap, like what is that person? It's like they're an avatar. And so it's like, you can't just completely break everything. Also, we can't quite talk about all of those things, but there's a lot of fun things.
Definitely. Just to add to that, one of their main principles is creating a safe place. And that means kind of establishing like a set of rules, something's familiar with you, because VR can be very unnerving, especially the first time you enter. It's like, how do I do certain things? Like, am I doing the right thing? You can get really anxious. But again, starting with a safe place, and then me bringing some like magical interactions, like a 3D comment.
Right. I'm gonna pass this.
Hello?
Hey, oh, okay.
Sorry.
Have the mic, thank you. Thank you very much for your talk. And I have a question about user testing. I presume you've done a lot of it since your Facebook. And I wonder if you have any insight about your findings, specifically about the acceptance of different generations towards VR. And I'm more like specifically fascinated by how millennials react and how do you think in the future they're going to react to it. Thank you.
How, who? Sorry, what was? Millennials. Oh, I know about that.
So luckily at Facebook's, we actually have a user researcher who does like a regular weekly testing depending on the feature we want to test or a hypothesis. So we do lots of testing with one person as well as like two people and see how the social dynamics is different depending on the number of people, who is connecting. Is that a stranger next to me versus the person that I know? So in regards to like different generations, we definitely brought in people like from a different generations, but it was primarily people who were already connected in the real life. And we really see the same type of connections in VR, that the way they interacted, they taught things to each other. As if one person didn't know how to do, the younger person would probably start picking up things, throwing things, showing how to do it. And Stephanie can answer about millennials.
I'm kind of a pro. No, it just like, look, I would say that the biggest lesson that you can learn from any of this research on any new trendy things is not to focus on age groups and all that, which you should, your researchers should be on that. But at the same time, I would say our biggest finding was like how much like people didn't really know and people were just reacting to things. So we saw like ultimately what we were doing here, these concepts of like making people, like making VR a habit and making VR just like this normal place thing to see in your newsfeed. Those are what we call like, I hate this phrase, but it's great, 10x like behavior changes. So it's like something completely different. It's not like 10% increase in XYZ. It's like something completely different. And so a lot of the times we would see behavior that was like just real life innate behavior. And actually what we would try and do was copy that. So I actually, when we were doing this, I made my researcher go hang out with the live team. And I said, go study hanging out. And he did it. He traveled the whole Midwest studying hanging out for me. And it was great. And he studied millennials. And And he did that for me. So, but anyway, like the point was that it was more, there was something more to that just studying human behavior and figuring out how to capture that into this experience than actually like focusing on the device itself. Yeah, so also, I want a woman to ask a question if we could do that.
So mine was off of the last quote.
Quick one, sorry.
Yeah, we're designing for people, not devices. If that's the case, then why is it exclusive to only Oculus Rift?
It's not. It's not. Do you see our whole video? We had 10 videos.
So you can get a Vive and try the Facebook Spaces?
Well, we actually announced at F8 of last year that we are bringing it to all other platforms and devices.
So the other thing too is, I used to work on anything that was like breaking the dimensions. So live was one component. I also worked on 360 video. That was our way to bring immersive experiences to Facebook. You could watch all those experiences on any like mobile VR kind of headset that you can imagine. You could just watch it on your phone as well. So our team works on both bringing immersive media out, but also bringing people into the headsets. Definitely worked on the Gear VR. That was the thing I was just holding earlier. We do all the things. So for us, like it is completely device agnostic.
Okay.
First of all, ladies, thank you so much. That was an awesome presentation. But also, wait, hold on just a second. Like, you guys own hardware, so you're gonna want that to be compatible on Oculus is gonna get probably first treatment of any kind of app that's gonna come out. But I do think that I think it's important that you have it widespread and available for everybody. So,
I would say actually like people are first. And that was one thing that we appreciated a lot about our leadership was like, they completely said like, yes, we own this platform, but only insofar as to get it out to people. Like literally like all the time they were like, how do we get to more people and how do we bring this to people? So we had a lot of focus on that. It's like, yes, we own Oculus. There's a strategic imperative, but like it was about designing for people.
No, that's great. Like, I definitely want to try it. I have the Vive, and yeah, I just hadn't had the chance to try it. So that's great to hear.
Awesome. Thank you. Awesome talk. Great job.